talk. We really look forward to the conversation. It's our pleasure to have you here. We'll just wait for 2 more minutes because we still have time for more people will join in. Is that okay?
Thank you, Professor. Yes, it's fine with me.
Okay, so Parvati, we'll start another 2 minutes. It says 58. So let's just.
Sure. Ma'am, it's 4 o'clock. If it's all right, we'll begin.
Yeah, I think so. I think the speaker may also want to sort of, we can't, yeah, she would have commitments as well. So I think we can start. So welcome everyone. Is that okay, Dr. Verma? We'll start now.
Yes, please. Am I audible?
So Parvati, will you take it forward?
Sure, ma'am, I'll do it. Thank you.
Okay, fine.
Good evening, one and all. On behalf of the Indian Urban Data Exchange, IUDX, and the Center for Society and Policy, I, Parvati Jayaprakash, welcome you all to the webinar on core data registries for public digital platforms. The data analytics journey progressively unravels meaningful insights from the deluge of data. The journey is usually undertaken through a set of standard data-driven procedures and processes that ultimately help in achieving the intended output. We are fortunate to have Dr. Neeta Verma, the Director General, National Informatics Center, Ministry of the Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, with us this evening to share her thoughts and bring more light into the discussions on core data registries for public digital platforms. It basically includes the design and development, infrastructure, and use of emerging technologies, both from management and the governance perspective. I would request all the participants to please put their questions on the chat window, and towards the end of the talk, I could address it to the speaker. Without any further ado, let me take this opportunity to introduce our speaker of the day, Dr. Neeta Verma. Dr. Neeta Verma is the Director General of the National Informatics Center, a premier technology partner for the Government of India. With a career spanning of over 3.5 decades, she has been instrumental in planning and implementing high-impact digital initiatives across the country. In her current role as DGNIC, she has spearheaded the development of digital services and platforms for various initiatives of the Government of India. She has been an active proponent of the technology use for enhanced citizens' experience at various levels of governance, such as launching open data platform to release government data as a public good, establishing the national data centers at various locations in the country, and even launching the first national cloud for government in 2014 to primarily provide state-of-art ICT infrastructure to the government departments for the delivery of citizen services. She has led the establishment of centers of excellence in blockchain, application security, artificial intelligence, and data analytics at NIC. That primarily focuses on bringing better accessibility and services to the citizens over the public digital platforms. In 2019, she was featured amongst the top 55 inspiring women across the world who have showcased the powers of technology in government sector. She holds a PhD from the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, and her areas of research are primarily on applications of emerging technologies in governance, cybersecurity, and data centers. She has her publications in many national and international journals and also co-authored books on digital transformation in government. She has been invited at various national and international conferences and forums to provide thought leadership around technology. We are glad you had accepted our invitation, ma'am. I shall not keep any of the participants waiting any longer. Over to you.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. You.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and also for the kind introduction. It is indeed my pleasure to be talking to you on the subject which is very close to my heart. Good afternoon, everyone connected online. Today, I'm going to talk to you about data registries in context of public digital platforms. As you know, Digital India program was launched by Honorable Prime Minister in the year 2015. This program primarily has 9 pillars, essentially focusing on digital infrastructure, whether it is broadband infrastructure, mobile networks, or access to public internet on one side, making this whole access affordable through through phones, through low-cost phones, low-cost smartphones, also affordable broadband access was another aspect. Using this infrastructure, how do you make these services, once one has an access to internet, has an access to broadband, how do you offer services to them in an electronic fashion, so that need for going to government offices or to any other place to avail service could be eliminated, and also how this technology can be used by government for reforming or transforming the internal functioning of the government per se, promotion of electronics manufacturing and all. And we've all seen since 2015 the kind of broadband revolution we have seen in the country, the kind of mobile penetration we have seen in the country, with over 1.4 billion mobile subscribers to 735 plus million smartphone users and equal number of broadband users in the country. Today, we are one of the largest if it comes to our presence on many social media platforms in terms of content generation, in terms of access. It has really revolutionized the whole thing across length and breadth of the country. Having this kind of network has also brought in a lot of new kind of applications online. You must have seen today, each one of us on an average uses 7 to 8 mobile apps every day to perform our day-to-day tasks, whether it is e-commerce, whether it is social interactions, or whether it is transport or teleconsultation. And during COVID, we have seen that how whole of India has adopted these technologies to have continuity of life when we had these national lockdowns and institutions closed because of COVID. Digital adoption has reached to another new level. And this all has further transformed or further catalyzed the digital transformation journey of organizations, whether it is government, whether it is private or civil society or academic institutes who have first-hand seen how their classes were held online, tests were held online, and so on and so forth. So today, if we see, we are in a very exciting time of digital transformation, and digital transformation has become at the core of strategy of any organization today. Before I really talk about that, how this digital transformation is happening as far as government is concerned, and how is it really transforming the services it offers to the citizens. Let me just give you in 2 slides the context I come from. I basically belong to an organization called National Informatics Center, which is the IT arm of the government under Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India. This organization was set up way back in 1976, and primarily we work on 4 mandates. One is be a technology partner of the government, and today we have presence in with 800 offices pan India, with presence in every district of India. We design and develop IT systems for the government, for central government, as well as for the state government and district administration. We provide ICT infrastructure to the government and also explore and advise on use of emerging technologies. When I talk of ICT infrastructure, over the years, we have set up a very wide state-of-art ICT infrastructure for government, which begins from a high-speed multi-gigabit network connecting all government entities across the country, video conferencing network, which became the lifeline of government's functioning during COVID times. It was used in many different innovative ways, and virtual meetings are now becoming a new norm for us. We have our own national cloud. We have our data centers, email, government email service, gov.nic.in. You must have already heard of. We have our own GIS and remote sensing services, and of course, to pan it across, we have cybersecurity services. So, all in all, today, if when you are you're kind of accessing any service from any government establishment, somewhere you are touching on an IC network, and any government servant anytime going on accessing anything on the internet or is trying to talk to citizen and business, he or she is always on the NIC network. Another aspect is with this kind of a setup, wherein, as I told you, with broadband revolution and all, high-speed networks have become available, cloud computing has become available, the access to mobile phones and broadband to citizens is available. This has, and the compute and storage also, the costs have really become quite affordable. As a result, we've been able to design systems which were not possible before. So today, if you look at Narega Soft, which is the employment guarantee program of the government, which is one of the largest program with financial outlay of 1 lakh crores, is being handled at a national level through a single platform. Over 15 crore workers who are seeking employment are connected with this platform. They do their registration, they demand for work, allocation of work happens, their muster roll is generated, their work report is submitted, and finally their payment in terms of direct benefit transfer is done to their bank accounts directly through a same system. So that's the order of kind of platforms we are having. Prior to this, when you had these kind of national platforms and where you had a state component, each state used to have its own system, and every month then the statistics will come that what all has happened under this scheme, how many people were given job, and so on and so forth. And then that will be aggregated at a central level, and the reports, and then compiling this data, making reports, and then looking into inconsistency used to be a normal thing. But with this kind of a national platform, single platform on everybody, right from the central government to state governments to people in block to panchayats, all are connected on the same platform, is something which is possible only because of the ecosystem which is set up in partnership with government and industry is possible today. Similarly, we have this program called E-Urvarak, which is basically aimed at ensuring that timely and adequate supply of subsidized fertilizer to the farmers is made so that they can get best return on their crops, or best output they can get from their crops. So right from how much fertilizer will be needed, the procurement of the raw material, to daily production of fertilizer, to import of fertilizers, to its dispatch from the production plant to rail, road, and sea, whichever way it's happening. And finally is sale through a POS machine. 2.36 lakh retail shops through POS are already connected to this national platform. So in real time, one can see the status of fertilizer stock availability at plant, at port, warehouse, rake point, wholesalers and retailers. And by connecting all those systems, not only It has ensured the timely supply of subsidized fertilizers to farmers. It has also helped in doing a lot of deduplication. As a result, in 1819 itself, government saved of money of the order of 10,000 crore rupees in this fertilizer subsidy. And above all, because this is a national system, the connected with all digital components and utilities. As a result, all these companies, fertilizer companies, are able to submit their bills online, their claims online, and on weekly basis, payment is being made out to them. So it's a win-win situation for every stakeholder in this ecosystem. You all being from how difficult it used to be some time ago when you had to apply for admission to engineering colleges, medical colleges, other premier institutes. We used to fill different forms for different colleges, sometimes give for different exams have to be given. All this has been simplified to great extent through a common e-counseling platform, single platform through which counseling for exam management, engineering, as well as medical happens through a common platform. About 4,500 plus institutions are connected to this platform for getting their admissions processed. There is a single form in many counseling, there is a single form student has to fill, and they can apply for multiple exams at one place. While on one side it brings this kind of a standard, on the other side they also carry a nuance, like different states will have different kind of compliance as far as state center reservation is concerned. So it takes care of those nuances, and at the same time give convenience to citizen that only at one place they be able to get the complete scenario of which are the colleges, in which are the courses they are likely to get admissions, what are their waiting list, and the whole life has become far more simpler. And then it is connected to various other forms, like your payment, you can do payment gateways, SMS, email. You can keep your certificates in DigiLocker and directly upload from there. All that's need for attestation and all also has been eliminated. So, so what I'm trying to tell you is that with this new kind of ecosystem available, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of readiness of the people, in terms of availability of devices, the new platforms have been designed under Digital India program, which are quite integrated, where sharing of information between the government entities has become far more simpler. In fact, in some of the cases, it has become seamless. E-hospital is another end-to-end hospital management system. Sorry. E-hospital is a system which is presently working. Same software is working in 631 plus hospitals, and out of this, 415 hospitals have an online registration system, meaning thereby that you do not, for getting appointment with the doctor, you do not have to go to the hospital. You can online apply, seek the appointment, get your appointment, and go on that particular day. And this facility is available even for hospital like AIMS and all. Any of you who had experience understand what kind of queues one has to stand even for getting an appointment into these big hospitals. E-way bill is another system which is for the business community. For the movement of goods, they do not, they all this all this check posts and all have been eliminated now, and one can do a self generation of self-service platform for their permits they can generate themselves. And then this system is back-end connected not only with the GST tax system, it is also connected with the e-invoice system. As a result, this has helped in improving the tax compliance. Tax collection has improved after the introduction of e-way bill system along with GST system. And it has also helped in prevention of frauds into the system. Look at this. This is an immigration and visa system of the country. You see, I mean, you could have never seen earlier systems where 8 to 10 different ministries and departments across central government and state government all are logging on to a single system and performing their respective tasks. While Indian missions from 195 countries can log in and use this system for issuing of visas, immigration checkposts in 107 places, including airports, seaports, and even road checkposts, can really use this system online and issue immigration clearance to the people who are getting into. And the FRO offices uh, can register the foreigners visiting India using the same system, which is called Immigration Visa and Foreigners Registration and Tracking System, IVFRT. And having a whole system online, and since there is no need for exchanging any information through emails or any other faxes, and all those things have been all eliminated. Look at the right side, the kind of timelines it has crashed. I mean, and you must have firstly also seen how easy it has become when it comes to immigration clear. And today, yeah, you must have many of your friends and relatives from outside who apply for this online visa, how simple it has become today traveling to India when you apply for these visas and all. This is another system which is called public financial management system. In this system is connected to the core banking system of every bank in this country, whether it is national banks, international, multinational banks, or rural banks, post office banks. Core banking system of each of this system is connected. As a result, anytime in any of the government program, if subsidy has to be transferred, irrespective of in which account the beneficiary has a bank account, or almost at the same speed, the data is almost in real time, or the subsidy is in the real time transferred to the bank account of these beneficiaries. Today, 737 government schemes are using PFMS system, and in the year 2021, over 3 lakh crore rupees were transferred using this DBT system overall. This is another system which is done for state of Karnataka, where there is a common system through which farmers can apply uh, different subsidies and benefits from 6 different departments of the government. Through a common system, they could apply once, and all the 6 departments could use this information and can really give them appropriate benefits, in which avoids also a situation where one person is getting benefit out of 3 schemes, whereas one farmer is not getting any benefit at all, but at the same time causes a lot of inconvenience to the farmers. They don't have to really go to each department's websites and start applying. This is another kind of a system which for the first time was done in the Digital India program, where using a common form you can apply for 104 different schemes of the government, of various ministries, minority affairs to tribal welfare, school education, social justice, and so on and so forth. This was not only in IT, but there was a lot of business process reengineering done. A common form was devised, and it is functionally wonderfully since 2015. And crores of students, right from scholarships, right from class 1 to higher education, all kind of scholarships are there in this portal, and students have to just once understand and register themselves, and whole of their academic life they really have to only put the incremental information in terms of whether they have passed from this class, which course they have taken admission, and so on and so forth, and they can keep applying. So whole thing has become very simple, and here again scholarships are directly transferred to the bank accounts of these students. E-courts is another case. 20,000 courts of the government using a common software, and as a result, since it's a common software, As a result, a lot of standardization is happening. And therefore, we have been very easily able to build National Judicial Data Grid. In this grid, 16 crore cases which has been there in the country, many of them already sorted out and many in the court. The complete information about this is available at one place. You could see pendency, you could see the orders issued against these courts and against various cases and so on and so forth. This is another example where in real time power situation in terms of its capacity, its generation, its transmission, its distribution in urban and rural is all available in real time on a single portal, and it has significantly reduced AT&C losses as well as improved the power supply position in the country, because in real time you get to know what's working, what's not working, how has been the uptime, and how has been the distribution across the country. So in all these systems, if you must have noticed carefully, all these systems has brought a culture where there either a common platform or platforms which are connected in a way that different entities of the government are able to share information among each other, which is very much needed into a federal constitution which we have. Lot of schemes are being done implemented in partnership with central and state government. And so this culture, which if you have seen some years ago was not there at all and used to be a nightmare, today this culture or this possibility of sharing information, sharing data in a seamless fashion has become real reality, and it's happening as I have shown you in many cases. This is another program called, and as you must have seen that lot of these programs also generating a lot of data, because of the data being captured right at the source in digital format and is being transferred through digital system. There is a huge high amount of improvement as far as quality of data is concerned, in terms of accuracy of data is concerned, in terms of currency of data is concerned. Some of these data we are also publishing in open government data, but when it's open government data, since it's open, it's generally aggregated data, anonymized data, and which is also being found very useful. but but when it comes to the other data, there are but there are various concerns of privacy and data protection and so on and so forth. But the good thing which has happened, see, there are two things. One is that uh, that in all these systems, you will see that government is using this data for certain defined purpose. But this data has a huge potential. And if this data could be really sliced and diced across various data held by private, by startups, by academia, we could generate far more insights from these data. But the framework, how do you on a continuous basis exchange this data while keeping privacy of citizen and protection and all other regulatory requirements in place, is something which is which is which is where we have to go, kind of this thing. And not only in terms of generating insights, lot many new kind of services can be introduced out of there's a lot of scope of innovation, and we have seen during hackathons lot of that has been exhibited. So because you have a system, and through a single system you're trying to cater to whole of India citizens who have such huge diversity, whether their language skill is there, whether their technology skill is there, or whether it is their overall demographic backgrounds are there. So under all those things, how do you provide personalized services? How do you provide customized services to these citizens, which they can easily consume through their mobile phones? To truly empower them, we need to do a lot of localization, we need to do a lot of innovation, a lot of personalization. And today the kind of technologies available has not only made these kind of personalized experience making it possible, It has also at the same time also brought in new kind of technologies uh, um, which what should I say, which has also made avail making a service very simple with things like blockchain, artificial intelligence, robotic process automation. The whole service could be delivered in far easy form. What we normally say, services can be made truly paperless, cashless, and faceless. So the need for you to go to avail a government service could be completely eliminated. And to do this, this whole concept of public digital platform is being introduced. So it is a concept where how do you really make these systems of every sector, whether health or education, all these data available in such a form that not only government, even corporate, startup, or society who would like to offer services to citizens, various kinds of services, could also access to this platform in a controlled, predefined format and deliver services. And then it has brought this concept of consent-based sharing of data of individuals, which to a great extent takes care of privacy things. Supposing, let me give you an example of health. Let's say I have my health record, which is being kept in a health locker. I go to an hospital and I want that hospital to see my health record. Now, if so there is a consent-based framework where I give at that moment an access, a permission for the hospital to see my electronic health record, and on my giving a permission for a certain time, hospital can access my electronic health record and can then doctor decide and tell me the line of treatment which one has to undergo. This information can also be used to kind of help me towards my wellness. Where supposing if I have diabetes, so I'm likely to develop a lot of other associated diseases, whether it is blindness, whether it, all other kinds of health issues. So depending on my health record, doctors can really uh, help me take measures to prevent from these kinds of illness. So similarly, if you look at education, you have your electronic academic record available in DigiLocker or some kind of depository where these records are there. Now, at any time when you apply for job or you're applying for admission outside or for any other purpose where you need to share your certificates, why only academic, even other certificates, marriage certificate, caste certificate, you need not really make the copies of that or scan them and upload. You could simply, if you have these kind of registries, you can simply give a permission to the person to whom you are applying or to the site, and they can directly fetch your record from there. So, and there could be many more applications around this which would be developed to make life simple for citizens. A lot of new kind of applications which we have not even thought of can come. And for the organization which is giving this service, also it becomes simple because they do not have to verify those certificates. Once these things are available in electronic format, they can be automatically digitally verified. So that is the whole concept of public digital platform. First time this concept was tried in health by Ministry of Health by putting up a national digital health blueprint, and wherein it was said that how do we have a national digital health blueprint so that irrespective of uh, where do I where do I reside, which hospital I go and get tested, or or where do I go and get my other examinations done? How do I get my electronic health records at a central place, which on my wish or on my consent I can share with anyone I feel like, and how do we structure this information thing? It looks a very simple statement, but it really needs a lot of background preparation to be done before this becomes a reality. This is a kind of, I happen to be a part of this group, and this is a kind of architecture of a public digital platform which was kind of conceived. So when we talk of a platform, we basically saying you need to have an underlying infrastructure, you need to make data hubs, and then you need to have various technology building blocks, right from health locker to keep health records to anonymizer, where if it's needed for policy purpose, let's say there are a lot of non-communicable diseases where government is building registries, it's cancer registry or it's a diabetes registry or hypertension and so on and so forth. Just so if those kind of registries, the content needs to be, the records need to be anonymized, or various other kinds of policy making. Nowadays we are into COVID, so how do you really see that, how much capacity had to be provisioned at what place, and what kind of consumables have to be. Health analytics is another piece. GIS, which gives you map-based view of all these diseases and wellness quotient of the people across. Health information exchange, because when you're exchanging this information, there has to be a certain technical stream to be followed, audit trails to be maintained. So you need a proper information exchange to be in place. Then you have application building blocks, and then information could be accessed in various ways. And health being a subject which is not only central government, state governments have their own hospitals, private sector has their own hospitals and their local hospitals across the country. So this is the kind of federated architecture which was finally recommended, where you may have these building blocks lying at state level, central level, but complying to certain standards, com- accessing some core data registries, complying to certain metadata, so that the pieces generated at different places are interoperable, they can interact with each other, they can be exchanged easily, and so on and so forth. So, and as you know, in health, they are already very well defined, predefined international standards are available, whether Snow City or SCA 10 and things like this. So if you see in health, now what is needed? You basically, these are the three different registries. For these public digital platforms, there are some things which are common across all applications. Like there's first thing in any case is a patient. Each patient has to be uniquely identified and has to be given a UHID number, unique health ID number. Other than that, then there has to be domain registries like doctors registry, there has to be health facility or health providers registry, then there has to be nurses registry. So all these kinds of registries are there, and these registries have to be made at one place so that everybody could access to the same registry, and this helps in connecting the information whenever it is kind of needed. So if you have these kind of registries and you have your UHID and you give a consent, so not only when you visit hospital for your illness, but during your wellness time, your preventive things, all these services through a single app can be availed, while services being provisioned by different entities. So that's the kind of scenario, public digital platform what we are looking for, or the kind of services it could offer in the domain. Similarly, if you look at the education thing, I've just tried to elaborate one or two to make things clear. Education, again, you have national level institutions, you have state level, you have school level systems also in place. Here again, what is common? Common is core IDs. Every student should have some kind of ID, so that his learning over the years could be tracked. All his academic certificates, his credit points, all could be linked, and his complete academic record could be generated and verified electronically. He need not get into this service of apostling when you go abroad, or or things like attestation of certificates submit. All that can be completely eliminated. So again, if you have these core registries, the advantage is that you prepare them once, and then you use them many times in many applications. They kind of become a single source of truth, and they actually become those identifiers or those connectors which help you connect different systems to deliver a new kind of services across these things. So if we talk of education, educational institute registry has to be there. Teachers registry has to be there, because as we are getting online and we have this digital education technology platforms where teachers are teaching online, teachers are teaching in the classroom, teachers are also giving tuitions. So how do you profile them completely? Again, if you have a teacher registry, it really gives, it helps as students and parents to understand the profile of teacher. It also helps teacher in terms of kind of aggregating the big picture. Similarly, schools, and similarly students registries. If you look at education system, we have done a study and there is a book which is available online. You could see that each of this registry is even today being used by hundreds of systems. So since these registries are not there, this whole information is lying in each of that hundreds of systems. And when the same information is lying at different places, is being updated at various levels, there is a huge amount of inconsistency which keeps in across this system. And as a result, tomorrow connecting those systems becomes almost impossible. And this is a data forum. We're talking of data analytics and we're talking of data correlation. Imagine how will the correlation happen if the key identifies itself or the key pieces of information itself, we're not able to obtain the consistency. And therefore these core registries give you that consistency, give you that single source of truth, and which is why I feel this is very critical when we are moving towards this public digital platforms, wherein we are looking at $1 trillion opportunity of collaboration between the government, between the corporates, between the startups, between the academia, to be able to offer new set of services to our stakeholders. This is another service which is called transport. In this we have kind of just look at this carefully. There are only two registries. One is vehicle registry, another is a driving license. That means identification of a driver and identification of a vehicle. This registry today, we have done this attempt in this, is being used by these many national systems around vehicles and registrations. And not only these platforms are being built, like whether it is you go for your PUCC centers or you go for FASTag, you go to your court, your challan or your vehicle location, your accident reporting, everywhere this information. If each of this system uses these registries instead of hard coding that information, you will have an information which will be far more insightful, which can really help in public policy or in terms of taking decisions going forward, whether improving the conditions of roads or improving the pollution situation in the country, or having a better traffic situation on the roads. So just two registries, and if done well, and everybody will like to use is one, and they have to be also made in such a form that this is made available for everyone to use it. Another example of ration card. Now we in a country where with your ration card you can go and draw ration anywhere across what should I say, across 5 lakh type shops in India. Anywhere you can go and get. And so what is needed in this case, though there are different systems in different states running of public distribution, but there are three things which are common. One is a ration card, which uniquely identifies the ration card holder and its families. Then you have fair price shops, 5 lakh and plus, and then you have go down. So the grains travel from go down to fair price shop to ration card. So among these three registries, if done well, a lot of, not only sometimes it helps in making efficient systems, it also helps stopping a lot of pilferage, lot of leakage into the system, lot of fraud could be prevented if you have these registries which are having the single source of truth. I think we are a little short of time, so I'll run a little this thing. This is another example of interoperable criminal justice, where different wings of criminal justice from police, judiciary, all can. This is something we have already achieved in guidance with Ministry of Home Affairs, where you have this criminal justice system where all authorized uh, functionaries in police, judiciary, prisons, prosecution, forensic, all can access this data of all kind at one place, and can not only do a faster resolution of cases, they can also prevent new crime from happening. They can find out the crime networks operational in the country. They can do antecedent verification and so on and so forth. And then police is using it very extensively and finding it extremely useful. So again, these are various registries which you could do in these things. So finally, coming near to close, so when we are saying core data registry, so as I have kind of tried to highlight to you that core data registries are essentially single source of truth. And these registries, if done well and made available to be used by government systems as well as IT systems and by private sector or by startups, that tomorrow the data getting generated from different entities can be connected in a far more meaningful fashion. Lot more insights could come, much better services could be delivered to citizens. But what is that one need to really, the registries are not like those big databases. Registries are very print, light footprint kind of things. So what is that you need to keep in mind when you're trying to build this registry? It has to be a minimalist design. Only keep data which is needed to identify. If it's a vehicle, what is needed to identify that vehicle or ownership of that vehicle? That is what is you need to keep. Whatever, when we're talking of these registries are different from databases because you should be able to electronically verify this detail. If I'm saying, let's say this is my driving license, my driving license number I type, I should be able to electronically authenticate that this driving license number by belong. And that is how, we have given, you must have seen nowadays, when you do any traffic violation, the cop on the road simply scans your driving license or your car number and is able to generate this thing, because electronically he is able to authenticate who owns this car or who is the driver of this car at this point of time. You should be able to deduplicate so that it continues to be single source of truth as it proceeds, because these are organically growing registries. These we should be able to link these registries one with the other, as I was showing in criminal justice system. They should be compliant to standards nationally and internationally, because today we are thinking of within India, you never know, there could be a requirement to connect our systems to a global systems, to international systems. So if you're compliant to standards, it's that time will give you an advantage. And in all these registries, there has to be a well-defined ownership. There has to be a proper governance, that who will be, because they are single source of truth. They are the most authenticated source. So who can put information? What is the process of information? Who can update it? All that is also very much necessary for them. So therefore, when you talk of registry, it is registry management is not only data management, it is technology management and data management. You need to have a solid technology platform to be able to offer this registry as a service to all the applications, and also complete governance framework to management of this data, its quality, its accuracy, its currency, and so on and so forth. So therefore, as I said, the registry, when we are saying, it is not that some RDBMS or some kind of a database. The core registry database, as you see, is just one component. It is an entire ecosystem. It's a framework or a platform in its own, through which you offer these registries to various stakeholders. You need to have a consent framework. You need to have a governance service layer. You need to have a portal layer through which people will come to this. The people who are providing this data, there could be multiple people providing data into a same registry, people who are consuming data. You need to have an API gateway. It's a complex piece, but once established and made available, it will really drive so much of a value for we as a society. So These are again the benefits. You once you have this kind of a registries in place, it can really save a lot of time and cost of citizens. They don't have to give any copies, any certificate to be uploaded. Simply give your number and rest gets electronically verified. A lot of saving for the government department. They don't have to verify, download, take your copy and then verify if the name is same and date of birth is same. Everything can be, when it's electronic, it can, another advantage is it can be electronically verified. You do not have to physically verify. So saves a lot of time. And as a result, if there's less time for citizen, less time for government, the total turnaround time for the service really can be drastically reduced once you have. Just think of when you apply to government services, there are around 60 to 70% information same. I mean, which you have to every time fill in when you're applying for any service. If this could have been kept at one place and you could have given a concept to fetch that information, it could have been auto-populated, how simple it would have been for you to avail a service. And that is what all these public digital platforms or core registries are kind of building blocks taking you to that particular direction. Verification can happen, cross-domain authentication services can happen, and we at NIC have already started working with departments. In fact, in National Digital Health Blueprint, we had National Health Authority who have already started building registries for healthcare providers as well as doctors and as well as for nurses. Similarly, it's begin to happen in education, and we are going to see many more registries. And similarly, in transport, these registries are being built, and we look forward to much more platform-oriented approach, much more collaborated approach with a common vision to provide a simple, efficient, and easy to consume services to our citizens at large. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That was indeed an insightful session. You had actually touched on pillars of digital India, and from there you showed us the illustrations on the nexus of technology and government services. That was beautifully put down through with lots of applications and initiatives that was rolled out in many sectors. The idea of the open government data or the public data, public digital platforms were very well put with examples of health, education, and transport. So, ma'am, we indeed have few questions from the participants, and we could take in one or two, if it's okay with you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay. So it starts off with Kirti, who's asking,
can we stop the screen sharing now?
Sure, ma'am, definitely. Ma'am, we have Kirti who is asking, what is your word for women in technology? Ma'am, you're on mute, ma'am. We are not able to hear you.
Okay. That see, women in technology. I feel women have a very promising career in technology. Not only because I feel, see, technology per se gives you an opportunity to not only build a good career, it also gives you, leads to your overall development. It orients your thinking towards being more logical, towards being more scientific. I'm talking of the whole of a STEM, not only technology, per se technology or computer science. It gives, and what is happening, another. So it really leads to your personal development, your overall professional development, and it gives a huge opportunity as far as your professional aspects are concerned, because today, it is like this. You may be trying to become, let's say, a fashion designer. You may like to become, let's say, you want to go in politics, or you wanted to, let's say, go in science, or you wanted to do medicine, let's say. You may not be following that career, but with technology you can associate yourself to any of these. Now you see this formulation of COVID vaccines, or this whole COVID management. How much of a technology has been used? In such a short time, we could get these vaccines. This is all technology game around all those supercomputing available, all those algorithms of AI available. And with this AI coming, it is going to permeate in almost every aspect of our life. And you can follow your second passion also along with technology, and you can get associated with this. So there are umpteen opportunities. And normally women I had seen, and this is what I talk at, many of us are concerned that as we grow senior, many of our young girls who are so bright kind of that the proportion of number as you go toward boardrooms starts becoming it starts going less and less. Reason being, many of them, because of the family commitments, have to take breaks, and then once you've taken a break, coming back into mainstream and all is not that simple and that easy, particularly if I see. But one thing good COVID has done, COVID has really shown to the corporates and to the government that one can really work so well with work from home with the same efficiency, and in some professions with a higher efficiency. So this opens up a new opportunity for women during those times when they have to be at home for care of the family. They could continue to work. They can open up those options, and therefore I see in the coming years much higher participation of women, and more women at the senior level. I very sincerely wish that to happen. I want to see a lot of women heading all these institutions.
Oh, that's great, ma'am. I'll move into the next question. I think Professor Guttu has a question where she says that there is no doubt that the government has taken huge leap towards digitalization and consolidation of information. The digital citizen's life has become much easier. But then the question where it lies is, are these steps taken by the government to encourage the private sector to simplify and consolidate information?
See, private sector we in India are very fortunate to have a very vibrant IT industry. So whenever we are kind of building systems, even in NIC, when we're building these digital systems, industry is always partnering with us. Whether it is an outsource mechanism or an in-source mechanism, they're always kind of working part. I mean, in NIC also, we have so many people who work from industry with us. And it's, if you say it's going to help industry, it's surely going to help industry. But the objective of all these digital transformation is finally to help the citizen, to empower the citizen at the end of the day. And in this process, when whosoever has this mission of finally empowering our citizen or generating a digital economy out of it, everybody will get benefited into it, whether you come from private or you come from civil society. As far as our final objective, a final vision is converging, we all are partner to that.
Just to sort of add, so I totally agree with you that, I mean, there's no doubt that citizens have really benefited from this. I personally also see how much it has made my life easier, from storing documents in one form and all. But the fact is that private sector also has a lot of information. Like government has very nicely consolidated it and has had that leap of faith to share it with the citizens, which is really beautiful. But private sector doesn't do that. They also have a lot of information, but it's all fragmented in various places. So is there a move from the government to make them also at least have that basic sharing thing?
Yes, if you are, yes and no, both. I don't know to what extent, but yes, if you look at the new intermediary guidelines which came, which somewhere was kind of empowering citizen that if you want a particular action to be taken or particular information to be availed from these private sector platforms, you should be able to do. The need for them to localize or store these information of our citizens within the country is one of, especially the
Right.
personally sensitive information is a part of our data protection bill which is in parliament. So these are the kind of offers which is largely done with the objective of safeguarding the interest of our citizens, and also, and therefore, in all these public digital platforms, we are bringing this concept of consent based sharing. So only when I give my consent. See, unfortunately, what has happened, if you especially see on these big tech platforms, sometimes when we are ourselves onboarding, they will say, I agree with terms and conditions, and we all agree and go. And if you read one day, you'll find somewhere, so it's been kind of, we are also party to, getting onto this thing. But having said that, I feel government is very cognizant of the fact, and therefore, with these new kind of bills coming into place, and the new kinds of intermediary guidelines coming in, I think it will give much more power to citizens to be able to control their information.
Yeah. Actually, you're right. I had not linked the personal data bill with this, but you're correct. I mean, there are some very clear guidelines there which will ensure a bit of, yeah. No, that's correct. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, we've got another question and which resonates to the same, my question also. Adarsh Kumar, he asks us that as digitalization increases cybercrime, the cybercrime also increases. What are the future government steps to protect public personal data?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I missed cyber security in the whole thing. As we say, security has to be by design in any digital system today. It cannot be an aftermath of creating and conducting an audit and then fixing the vulnerabilities. It's when I'm saying in design, right from architecture perspective, right from high level design, you need to build various this thing. As we are going more and more digital, and as our fellow citizens from smaller cities and from villages are coming who are not so tech savvy, this cyber crime is definitely increasing. There is no what can we do? We basically have policies and we're trying to bring them more and more strong. But I personally feel while there are two people who can really help us in a big way. One is the people who are building IT systems. When you're building IT systems, you have, if you keep the safeguard the interest of the consumer or the user of that application, lot of that protection can be given to the users of the system by putting those various measures into place. Second thing is creating awareness among the citizens. There is no shortcut to this. We have to continue the outreach in that direction has to be much more than what it is today. And I feel if anybody and everybody who's offering a digital solution today, whether in private or whether in government, has an obligation to continuously make their users or consumers aware about the cyber security measures. These two things to put together. Thirdly, I think with the kind of artificial intelligence mechanisms coming in place, we will be able to have a much higher level of security at a much lower cost, because without any human intervention, lot of these things, these algorithms sitting at the back of our phone or computer will be able to flag things or maybe take appropriate actions. But cyber security is definitely one of the important aspects one needs to keep in mind when you're talking of any digital, digital transformation initiative.
Thank you, ma'am. I think we are just past time, but can we take in one or two questions more?
Yeah.
If it is all right with you?
Yeah, fine.
Okay. Ma'am, Abhay Sharma asks us that he first says thanks for a great presentation. His first question is how to access these registries. I think there were a few other questions on accessing these registries. And the second question is if there are efforts going on to automate connections between different platforms such as e-work and e-hospitals, how is it so?
Yeah. So that is what, if you look, as I said, these registries in the form of to be able to share with others is begin to happen. So first effort was made in the case of National Health Authority, NHA site. There they have made these registries and they have provided a concept of sandbox Okay, so if you supposing tomorrow building a hospital management system, or you have a e-hospital system, and you want to be compliant to NHA's UHID system, and you want to, so, and then you can, through this sandbox, you can register for that sandbox, and you can get access to their APIs, and through these APIs you can connect. Once you have system is functional, you can get it certified, and there is some process through which they kind of validate that all your things are done working correctly, and then you can roll out. So this concept of sandbox is coming, through which you've been given an opportunity of connecting your system, because registry is not something you will manually connect. Your one IT system through an API has to connect to these registries, and therefore purposefully, to make it simple, these registry these sandbox concept is being introduced in various new platforms, where it, like if you look at CoWIN platform, it has also introduces API through which you can publicly available you could access. What was the other question?
Are there efforts going on to automate connections between different platforms?
Yeah, so there are within the ministries, people are connecting the systems, but they can only connect if between them there is a common identifier. Every time, common identifier may not be there. But generally, in a sector, let's say if there is a transport. So within transport, if you look at all these systems, they have a common identifier. So they are definitely connecting. Like pollution control, today when you go for pollution control center, that person only puts your vehicle number, and complete detail of your vehicle it takes from the transport registers nationally. All PUCC center across the country are directly accessing data from there. When you go for FASTag, it simply takes your vehicle number and attaches that FASTag value to this, and using which when you pass through various toll bridges, tolls, and all those things. It's definitely happening, but there's much more scope to happen.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for that. You had another question, sir, if you would want to.
Yeah, I actually just, ma'am, thank you for the presentation. The question was more like I was wanting to know that if, for example, there are two platforms, of
Mhm.
course, today they are made for a particular application and serving a particular need and requirement, but there will be more often than not avenues open up where once they start exchanging data across each other, a new
Mhm.
application can come up by combining these two data from these two platforms. So therefore, these same platforms which are currently sort of full verticals, they would be really, it will be really beneficial if we could connect them through a very standard set of API. So that is what I wanted to check. So one way you have said is that there is a common registry, and if there is a common identifier, there is a connection between these two. But my question was that, yeah, I mean, it could possibly be even maybe more beneficial if we could have some each of these platform open up their data in a standardized fashion.
See, this is what you need to understand when you're taking up opening up data. Is the data which is belonging to citizens. I mean, in an open data platform, anonymized aggregate data is often available. But if you need to offer any service, you need that personal level, individual level data. And that data cannot be just made available in an open to anyone. This has to have a complete consent framework. And that is why this whole concept of uh, public digital platform is there, and this has to be conceived into an entirely different fashion. As far as connecting two IT systems of the government through APIs, that is already happening. If you go and see, we have national API exchange called napix.gov.in, where already these APIs are published, and IT systems on case to case basis are already connecting. But in a typical API kind of a thing, every time the two people have to exchange, have to kind of do a contract into it. But when you do a public digital platform, and once you define the framework of sharing it, anybody else can share it through a sandbox kind of a thing. So these are technically looking same, but in terms of service delivery or its possible applications, they're too different. They're slightly different.
Sure, sure. Thanks, ma'am.
Ma'am, we've got a question from Kirti again. She asks, what are the steps taken by government to make underprivileged people aware of these tech benefits and make it accessible to them?
So, government has a program called PMG Disha, which is basically for generating literacy at the ground level to the people in villages where they have been appraised of how to use these various digital devices, mobile devices, what kind of mobile apps are there, not only various government services, how do you avail, but also at the same time, how do you do your day-to-day work using these, supposing recharging your mobile or any other service which we need from, or applying for a gas connection or things like this. So there's a lot of education. This is a program which is going on for quite a few years now, launched under Digital India program called PMG Disha. In addition to this, government has also set up common service centers across, which is a kind of a village level entrepreneurship concept, where these people in the villages have opened up the small centers with 3, 4, 5 computers, and where these villagers can walk into these places and they help them in availing these services from these places. And over, I think around 3 lakh such centers are already in place in India. Like recently, this unorganized workers registration had to be done. So this is called eshram.gov.in. So I think around 20 crore unorganized workers across the country have been registered with the help of CSCs.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, there is a question from Chaitra, and if I would request if ma'am, Chaitra ma'am, if you have, I'll read out the question, but if you want something to add in, please add in. So she asks, can you throw some light on academic bank of credits?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
I'm not sure.
academic bank of credit is a kind of a depository where I mean, if we say in a simple form that the depositories which are being done today, which was initially being done by UDCL or NSDL or things like this, wherein all your certificates are being deposited into these form, into a machine readable form, so that anytime if anybody wants to know about your information, they can simply send a query and your marks and your other details into, if you understand technically, into an XML kind of a form it shares. So machine to machine interaction or exchange of information can happen if it is a academic thing. Now, when we're talking of, I mean, yesterday only we were sitting and discussing this aspect of bank of the credits, and some of the colleges like engineering colleges and all also give credits where to complete a degree you can do some credits from X institution and other credits from other institution. And now with national education policy, some credits you can do by electronic or online courses. So so if you start putting those credits also into a format, into these depositories in a form which can be electronically consumed by anyone who's trying to access your academic record. I hope I'm making sense to this.
So she has got an added question to that, ma'am. She asks, what is the difference between academic bank of credits to that of DigiLocker?
DigiLocker is a generic platform in which not only academic, any kind of certificate, any kind of a document can be kept. You could keep your personal property documents, you could keep your health documents, any documents. And DigiLocker allows two things. One is that you as an individual can keep your documents like you go and keep in any bank locker, or boards like CBSC can push your records into it, into this DigiLocker. So whatever board or anybody pushes is an electronically readable document, but what I put is basically a scanned document. So it works in those. So DigiLocker an instance of DigiLocker can also be created to generate this academic bank of credit. If it is just used for this purpose, this becomes an instance of DigiLocker.
Thank you, ma'am. I think, okay. Thank you, ma'am. And there is one of our participants who is, yeah, Gopinath Kanchi. Sir, do you have the question ready?
Yeah.
You want
Hello.
to unmute
Yeah.
and ask?
Okay. Am I audible? Hello?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, yes, you are.
So thanks for a very interesting presentation. As an academic, I'm interested in modeling systems of this nature because they're quite complex and quite intricate also. And especially in the context of, you mentioned security has to be built in from the very beginning, has to be part of the design. So I'm curious about two aspects. How do you do the security modeling when you're designing the systems? How do you do the privacy modeling when you're designing the systems? Means, do you have any methodologies? Do you have any frameworks? How exactly are you achieving this particular objective of ensuring that security is not an afterthought or privacy management is not an afterthought? It's actually integral part of the design. How do you ensure this? And especially, how do academics, like for example myself, how does can they take part in this particular exercise in some form or other? Is it possible?
Yes, you can surely take part of it. As far as cybersecurity is concerned, see, basically you have this list of, I don't think there is any kind of a computer-based algorithm or model which is there. I mean, which I know of through which we could really do. But how do we basically do is you have two, three different kinds of threats to which an IT system can be subjected if you go from its layer, with various layers getting from infrastructure, physical access layer to network layer and application layer. And each one of this has its own set of, what should I say, has its own set of guidelines that how should you mitigate. So in a design, you basically, while you're trying to, let's say, do a high level design, first of all, you need to have a cybersecurity expert as a part of that team who has to validate in the timelines it needs to get into. At various design levels you need to really submit, like if you do in an IC, let's say at the time of you are submitting your high level project advisory committee, there itself you have certain questions to be asked from you, that how do you ensure that the security will be taken care of, right from the concept level itself. So it's more of question answers, most of a checklist kind of a thing. It is those are the kind of things. There's no model per se, but yes, when you do the coding today, and if you use AI kind of algorithm, you can build those kind of, like, let me give you an example. Let's say you have a financial system in place. Now this system, the money is being transacted and going from time to time. There are people all over the country who are logging into this, government officers logging into these systems. Now there is a certain behavior that an X person logs in at this particular time and does this kind of operations. Machine has already learned it. Okay, now suddenly one day you find that person is logging in at the wrong, at a very different time than what he or she has been logging, and the kind of actions the one is performing is very different. Or sometimes you find the kind of data being downloaded is far more than what is being normally downloaded. So you kind of write these kinds of checks and balances into your system, which we kind of in our financial systems called a fraud analytics system, which we have built for our national scholarship portal, because crores of children we give scholarship and children are applying from various places. Like supposing if there is a case that child is a resident of X state, child is studying in Y state, but the bank account in which he is asking the money is a third state. This kind of a situation is not is a very very unlikely kind of a thing. So these kind of cases automatically get flagged into the system to the person concerned to take a final call or check it kind of onto this thing. Similarly, whitelisting, from where will you access? So like in design, one aspect will be that access to the privileged accounts will be on two-factor authentication or three-factor authentication. So these are the kind of things. More of a checklist kind of a business, I should say, than of getting into any model per se.
The reason I'm asking this question is because privacy has become a very important issue.
Yeah.
So when you combine multiple data sets, there are interesting inferences that you can make out, and so that can be quite problematic. So
Yes, I agree
we
with you,
need to
sir.
have certain modeling at a
Modeling to
very fine level before. So I'm just curious, what kind of academic research work is being done or being used in this area, so that.
Not that I can actually tell it to you, but I think we can always have an offline discussion with you to really see that, we understand more and see that how can we really apply. We definitely can discuss this.
Thank you.
Professor, thank you. Sorry, ma'am, I think I'm getting mails from your office wherein you are constrained on time. So thank you so much. With that, we come to a conclusion of this webinar. I see both the participants as well as we enjoyed the entire session. I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude both on behalf of Center of Society and Policy as well as IUDX. Thank you for taking out time from your busy schedule, and you addressed this very pertinent topic. Definitely had a great time listening to you. Looking forward to meet all our participants very soon for our next webinar. I would like to thank everyone and close the session. Wishing all of you a very happy weekend, and bye. Anjula ma'am, if you would want to add anything?
No, I just want to thank Dr. Verma. Thank you so much, Dr. Verma. It was really very nice. And thank you so much for taking time out for us.
Thank you. It was my pleasure indeed. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Verma. Thanks.
Thank you,
Bye, ma'am.
everyone,
Thank
for
you.
participating,
Thank
joining.
you.
Thank you, ma'am.